Greetings, my fellow YouTubians. So, it's been over 2 weeks, but we are finally getting underway with our Scorsese series because I am almost finished being sick, and V-Rose is almost finished taking care of her university business. And she has started out a new series of her own. She is posting one video per day every single day until Christmas, which is really cool. Having guessing games, quizzes, prizes, stuff like that. This is fun. Now, when we started the Scorsese series, this was, of course, originally V's idea. But she was nice enough to kind of let me steer the content, the titles, for the most part, that we'd be looking at. And I figured that at some point we'd end up doing a film that she wouldn't like very much. And so I think that day has finally come. She messaged me a couple of days ago saying, okay, ready to do Raging Bull. Gotta tell you though, wasn't real big on this one, and I can't say that I'm all that surprised, because when I first saw this movie, I didn't like it very much either. Of course, when I saw it was, quite some time ago. I think probably the last time I watched it was well over 15 years ago, if not more. And the first time I saw it was well over 20 years ago when I was still in school, still in high school. A friend of mine at one point asked me what I thought of it. I was like, eh. She's like, yeah, just what I thought as well. Really nice photography, but in the end, not so much. It's funny, when I re-screened it, I had a conversation with my brother a couple days later, who told me that kind of by chance he also happened to see it recently, for the first time actually. He asked me a question. He said, what do you think about movies with the main characters who are kind of dumb? And I said, well, I usually don't like those. But usually those movies are comedies, like Adam Sandler movies, in which the character is stupid enough to misunderstand stuff that's going around him. That's why it's supposed to be funny. But I don't find that as much fun as movies about smart characters. And he says to me, well, what about a movie that's like a serious drama about characters who are kind of dumb? I'm like, I don't know, what do you mean? It's like, well, I just saw Raging Bull. I was like, oh yeah, right, yeah. Now, Raging Bull is a funny thing. I've often wondered why it is Scorsese wanted to make a movie about this person. Jake LaMotta was a real person, a boxer. I'm not actually even sure if he's still alive. But he was a boxer. He was in his prime. He boxed matches in the 40s and 50s, and he is not called Raging Bull for nothing. He had quite a temper problem, and the movie doesn't make any bones about this. Not only have a lot of people like myself and friends and my brother wondered why it was Scorsese made this movie, people on the crew actually were wondering why Scorsese was making a movie about this guy, this very sort of abrasive character who just could not stop being angry about the smallest little things, And in this film, he has arguments with people that seem to go on for weeks about the tiniest little thing. So, you said you saw the guy was handsome, he says to his wife. You said that guy was handsome. Well, why would you say something like that? He asks this over and over and over again, constantly wondering whether or not his wife is cheating on him, constantly wondering whether or not his wife is cheating on him with his brother, And then finally, when she just says the hell with it and says, oh yeah, sure, I slept with your brother, then of course he really loses it. Yeah, it's something. The way that I've reacted to this movie now is very, very different from them back then. And what's changed in that time? Obviously, the film itself hasn't changed. I've changed quite a bit because I have the ability to recognize the value in making a film like this about a story and characters like this. Whereas before I just said, I don't like any of these people, so I don't like the movie. Nowadays, a likable main character is not a prerequisite for me to enjoy a film. That's something else that my brother asked me one time. We were talking about the Before Sunrise and Before Sunset movies with Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy. He's like, I don't like the Ethan Hawke character. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Does that make the movie bad? And he's like, well, no, I guess not. But this guy is very unpleasant. No, not quite over my little throat thing yet. The problem is, how do you reconcile the value of spending time paying attention to a guy who is just has such a hair trigger temper, and I don't really know what that is, and I'm not really sure still why it is that Scorsese wanted to make this particular film about this particular person. I think it might have something to do with domestic violence, and sort of maybe bringing light to that, or just focusing on a particular story of domestic violence and how, the LaMotta, the character, you never really hear a whole lot about what life was like for him when he was growing up. But I have a feeling that he was, smacked around a lot by probably his father. I'm not basing this on any kind of research that I've done, but just sort of seems that way. He's just, constantly always seething with rage about something. Just little things, and of course there's some of these qualities make him a fantastic fighter in the ring. He can be just relentless. But yeah, it is a little tough to. It's an easy movie for me now to admire. It really is. I admire it quite a bit, and I admired Scorsese for really not pulling any punches. There's pulling punches. This is probably, along with Requiem for a Dream, one of the most relentlessly unpleasant and punishing movies that you could ever come across. It's grim. It's a grim experience, but so incredibly well made. This movie was nominated for a bunch of Oscars. Cinematography, for one thing. Joe Pesci as Robert De Niro's younger brother. Kathy Moriarty, of course, is his wife. Both got Oscar nominated. Scorsese was nominated for Best Director, and The Picture, of course, was nominated for Best Picture of the Year. But it won, of course, for number one, the editing. And I tell you, man, this is an incredibly edited picture. There's a scene in this movie where, for whatever reason, some unfathomable reason, LaMotta decides not to fight back during one of his matches. He stands there and encourages Sugar Ray Robinson to just come at him, which he does, and smacks him over and over and over and over again. And this sequence, for one reason, the film was in black and white, but for this sequence, it reminded me kind of the shower scene from Psycho, with all the incredibly fast cuts going to his hand, his glove clenching the rope, to the close-ups of the crowd, the close-ups of the fist beating his face and the blood spraying. I remember going to a special effects showcase when I was a kid and looking at models and puppets and blue screen techniques, and they actually had film from that sequence showing. They were screening it for all these little kids who were there to see the special effects exhibit on how they got the makeup appliance, the latex appliance over his face that had tubes running through it that would pump fake blood out through the little holes and cuts in his face. Something else, man, really something else. De Niro put on a ton of weight for this movie as well. He gained a lot of weight, and it shows very clearly in the latter scenes. Man, I gotta tell you, my favorite scene in this whole movie, or I should say sequence in this movie, is a series of, it's sort of like a sequence where they're skipping forward in time quite a bit and just alighting on different things. You have a series of matches which he fights with different people, and they'll give the location and the year, but they won't show you the actual film itself. What they do is they take individual frames from the actual film, where there's like some sort of blurring motion, and just show those frames just for a few seconds, and then another frame, and then that will be intercut with color home movies of them, getting their new house and playing out in the backyard, having a barbecue, whatever. And this is set to classical music. It's a terrific scene, just a terrific scene. And of course the music on the whole is really great. They have that great piece during the opening credits, which is a great piece. I can't remember the name of the composer offhand. But yeah, like I said, I mean, it's an unpleasant movie, but it's really it's easy. It's much easier for me to appreciate now than it is then. Now that I've had so much experience seeing movies of all different kinds, I can appreciate what Scorsese was trying to do, you know, and I'm not the only one either, because this movie is widely regarded as being one of the very best movies of the 80s, if not the best, by a number of different people. It lost Best Picture to Ordinary People, which was the Robert Redford film that is the first film that he directed. Yeah, I got to tell you, probably another scene of mine that I've sort of stuck in my head all these years. The testosterone really just goes off the scale when Kathy Moriarty, LaMotta's wife, tells him, he lies and says, "Yeah, actually, I did sleep with your little brother," and he immediately charges out of the house and runs over his brother's place. Now the scene is his brother, Joe Pesci, is sitting at the kitchen table talking to his son, and his son has done something wrong, and he's angry, and he's cursing at him, and, you know, doing that typical Joe Pesci thing, and in the background is the door, and suddenly De Niro charges through the door and immediately starts hitting him, and it's just funny. It's just funny just how much people are seething with anger and fury, and yeah, it's something. It's really something. Yeah. I'm bracing myself for V-Rose, because I don't know whether or not she's going to hate me now for insisting that this be one of the movies that we cover on this series. But I feel it's a very important film in Scorsese's career. And I'm not the only one to think that either. And I have a newfound appreciation for it now. That's one of the benefits, I think, from doing the series, is going back and seeing some of these films I haven't seen in ages, and really looking at them more carefully. Many years later, I just have a newfound appreciation for it. And it's exciting. It's really exciting to see this stuff again. It makes me actually kind of want to rent it again. Even though I just saw it again a couple of weeks ago, I want to see it again now. Anyway, thanks very much for watching and for listening to me ramble on about this. There's a link below, of course, where you can find V. Rose's review of Raging Bull. She'll be posting it today, just like me, just like always. And we'll have another Scorsese video for you in the hopefully very near future. Thanks a lot. Take it easy.